Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West here. Welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
You know, it was 5 years ago on a Memorial Day weekend where I had a tragic, catastrophic motorcycle accident. And the thoughts and prayers that you all sent out, I'll never forget. Because when you get struck on a motorcycle on Interstate 35 here in Texas at the speed of 75 miles per hour, you're probably not supposed to walk away from it. Y'all saw the pictures. Faces recovered. Still have scars from, the road rash, scar across the hand where there were 21 stitches. Had to undergo what's called a ladder J procedure because my right shoulder was completely destroyed. And so I got pins and screws in there. So I had not ridden, just decided not to ride. As a matter of fact, my motorcycle, the Victory Cross Country 8-ball, was restored and it was auctioned off for a better cause by way of Mighty Oaks Foundation, raised a nice little bit of change for that. But something happened in November of 2024. Maybe it was the elation of Donald Trump becoming our 47th president. But I decided, I think it's time to get back on and ride again. And of course, in the back of your mind, you always say, am I doing the right thing? What type of confirmation can I get to assure me that God's saying that it is time to get back on that motorcycle? Well, the next thing you know, in January, I get a email from a couple of dear friends, Walt Sides and our guest for today, Rob Wilkins, asking me to come to D.C. and speak for Rolling to Remember. We also knew it as Rolling Thunder of 2025, Memorial Day weekend, 5 years after my accident. So Rob is here to talk to us about Rolling to Remember, a massive motorcycle demonstration ride starting in the Pentagon's parking lot, rolling through Washington, D.C., and the whole purpose is the full accounting of American POWs and MIAs and to raise awareness of the mental health crisis stealing thousands of veterans' lives a year. On average, 21, 22 a day of our veterans are committing suicide. Rob is a former United States Air Force Command Master Sergeant, if I'm correct, and I'll make sure he corrects me. But Rob is an incredible man. I've known him for quite some time, going all the way back to the very first time I got to be with them in Rolling to Remember. Rob, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Alan. Thanks for having us, and we're really pleased and honored that you're going to be joining us again. If you can think about it, it's been 13 years
Yes.
since you joined us the first time. It's hard to believe that much time has gone by, but it's been 13 years. So we're looking forward to you in your quiet, non-assuming way coming to fire up our troops and our crowd. Because when you were riding with us, we were the world's largest one-day event. Rolling Thunder for about 5 years was the world's largest one-day event with about 1.2 to 1.3 million people. We still are the world's largest gathering of active duty veterans and retirees, military. So we're glad that happened. But post-COVID, the numbers have not been what they were before, but we're building it back up. And with you being there, I'm sure a few thousand more of your supporters and followers will join us on Memorial Day weekend at the
Well, I
Pentagon.
can't wait, and I'll be riding my 2024 Indian Challenger, heading out of North Texas here on that Tuesday, and I should arrive up there on Thursday. And I know that we've got a full slate of events. But let's talk about, Rob, what was it that drew you to this event? You know, being a veteran, but what really touched your heart?
So first of all, I heard about Rolling at that time. It was Rolling Thunder, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I was a first sergeant at the Pentagon. I'm thinking bikers in trouble. So I knew their crowds were large. I knew that they had basically shut down the city,
Yeah.
D.C. and the surrounding area for those 3 days. However, I didn't want anything to do with it. So I'm in Afghanistan, and my wife tells me she's at Rolling Thunder, and those people could not be more polite and more respectful. And when she had that, at the time, our son was a year old, and there was a coming through lady with a carriage or with a stroller. And so 2 years later, I retired. And then I met Walt Side because we both live in Loudoun County, Virginia. And he told me more about the run, and I decided to go check it out because sometimes what you hear is not what really is happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes people make things worse off than they really are. And I thought I've hit my my family, the extended military family. So many kind people, so many people of different backgrounds and ages. And at that time, we still had a few World War II veterans riding with us. So to go from the World War II era all the way to Afghanistan and Iraq, and in between, you have Vietnam and you have Korea and you have other conflicts. But the bonding thing was we all had served, and you wouldn't have found a more peaceful, organized, respectful place. We had less arrests than one Washington Commanders football game during Rolling Thunder weekend.
Yeah.
So that's looking at 1 million plus people compared to 60-something thousand people.
So let's talk about the events this year because, again, it's not just that Sunday ride that everyone knows about. There are some other things that lead up to that. Let's talk about that whole weekend. So kind of fill us in on that.
So the weekend really is a weekend of remembrance, recognition, to think about the families of those who did not come back home, to those who made the ultimate sacrifice, like my cousin George Washington Fro, 20 years old and died by friendly fire in Vietnam. Actually, yesterday was 1968. Yesterday was the anniversary, and 4/6 April of that would have been 1968. Yeah, when he was only 20 years old. But we want to remember all those folks, and we also think about the younger veterans now who are dying 20 plus more by suicide every day, and their struggles, and also to show that veterans aren't broken. There's this narrative out there that they're broken veteran. Well, we're not broken. You've asked people to do some very horrific things, to go and do things in defense of this great country, but they've seen things. They had to do things. And so when they come back, sometimes they need a little bit more assistance than those who did not do that.
Yeah.
So what do we do? How do we bring that call to action? How do we increase awareness? How do we support our veterans? And that weekend, Rolling to Remember, is what we're going to try to do and continue to do. We have Friday night, we have a vigil at the wall to recognize the Vietnam veteran families, to recognize the men and women on the wall. On Saturday, there are various guest speakers. And then on Sunday, which the run departs from the Pentagon at 12. But before that, from 7 to about 12, 7 a.m. to about 12, there's thousands and thousands of people looking at each other's bikes, talking, sharing war stories, taking pictures with each other, remembering them when they came there for the first time. Believe it or not, we have hundreds of people who've been there for every single ride.
Wow.
So they have a great history to share. So, again, it's about togetherness. It's about celebrating those who serve. It's also about being proud to be American, because so many folks, they just don't seem to be proud of this country anymore. And while our country has challenges, it's still the best country. I've been to 43, and it's still the best country by far. So almost anything is possible in this country. My sixth great-grandfather, Pelt Milner, was from Scotland, served in the American Revolutionary War. My third great-grandfather, Harris, forget his first name, was a Confederate soldier. So he'd be pretty surprised to see me. But through all that, it's the service of our country, defending our country. I have a cousin now who's a fighter pilot. Another one's a linguist. So in my blood, the military runs thick and long.
Yeah.
And we're really, really proud of our service. We're proud of our country. And we want to be part of the solution to figure out, why we have our challenges. What can we do to make it better? Because if we keep running our mouths and just keep yapping, nothing's going to change. What are you going to do? What are we going to do to make it better?
Now, you bring up a great point because just the same as the lineage in your family, my dad was a World War II veteran. My father-in-law, who is buried there in Arlington National Cemetery, 2 tours in Vietnam, came to this country from Jamaica. My older brother was a Vietnam Marine, myself, and several others in our family. The highest ranking member of our family made it to 2 stars in the United States Air Force. And so, he always tells me if I was smart, I would have joined the Air Force. But I think that what's so great about Rolling Thunder, and the thing that I remember, going back to the times I was with you, was that veterans were all over Washington, D.C. And young kids and everyone got to see the real heroes of this nation. Not the sports players, not the people that wear their names on the uniform, but the people that have United States Army, United States Marine Corps, United States Navy, United States Air Force, United States Space Force now, the United States Coast Guard. They get to see those men and women. And they're ordinary, everyday Americans, but they come together on that weekend to do something extraordinary. Talk to us about that feeling that you see in the faces of the young people there, the kids that get to hear that and see that.
Right. That's a great point you made there. So I remember coming over Memorial Bridge from Arlington into D.C. with Walt Sides, and at the time he had a truck that would be blaring music out of the back, and he said, "Get ready." And I wasn't sure what he meant by "get ready," but once you cross that bridge, on both sides, young and old and people in wheelchairs and all having flags and posters and saying, "Welcome home," and "Thank you for your service," and kids running out and want to give you high fives and like, "No, don't run out here. There are motorcycles coming by." But their enthusiasm that they wanted to be part of something. They wanted to be a part of I call it the greatest team on earth, the United States military. I say, when you said about these heroes, they really are heroes, and they're quiet. They don't want fanfare. But as I often said, when our America gets in trouble, we don't call on Tom Cruise or Samuel L. Jackson. We call the men and women who serve our country. And that's also including firefighters and law enforcement officials and even teachers. We have foundation of our country are very, very simple people who serve. And I think Rolling Thunder is a reminder of that service. To be the greatest takes work. It takes controversy from time to time. It takes challenges. But still in all, almost anything is possible when you come to the United States of America. But you got to work. You got to put in the effort. No one's going to give it to you.
It's the equality of opportunity and not the equality of outcomes. That's what I always tell people. So let me ask you this. What's the chances of the 47th President of the United States of America staying in Washington, D.C. that weekend, and maybe we could see him give a wave and a shout out to the riders?
Well, you never know, because he is a supporter. So in 2019, we had a huge challenge because of the increase in cost there for Rolling Thunder. It's over $100,000. And that's the law enforcement officials, it's the porta potties, it's security, all necessary costs. So we were almost getting faced with, were they going to allow us to ride? They were thinking about not shutting down roads. So I got to go on Fox and Friends, and before my episode on Fox and Friends, or my segment on Fox and Friends, the president had tweeted out he supports Rolling Thunder. He hopes that everything can be worked out. My interview went with now Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and after the interview, about 60 minutes later to 90 minutes later, we get a call that everything has been taken care of. We don't know what happened. We don't know how it happened. We just know that it did happen. Yeah. And what I think was important, that during our segment, we did not bash the Pentagon police officers for doing their job. Yeah. They're responsible for the security and the safety of the reservation, but of hundreds of thousands of people. So I know they had a tough job to do, but many of them are veterans and they want this ride to happen. But it has to be done legally, it has to be done safely, and it has to be done the right way. And so once all those criteria were met, we were good to go. They still support us now. And I think they'll support us as long as we can make sure we do it the right way, because they have a big job to do. And we just want to give them some shout outs and say thank you for your support. And we understand their position as well.
Well, the professionalism of you and Walt Size and everyone that pulls together Rolling Thunder, Rolling to Remember is just impeccable. So tell us, to all the folks out there in the audience, they'll watch our segment here. How can they get registered? How can they sign up to be a part of Rolling to Remember 2025?
So they can go to amvets.org. And then just click up on the top box there, and it'll say "Rolling to Remember." You can, or just show up. You just show up on Memorial Day weekend here in Washington D.C. on that Sunday. I think it's the 25th. Yeah. The ride starts at 12. However, I would assume if you really want to take off from the parking lot, you need to be down there around 7 to 8 a.m. to line up.
Now, is there excuse me, is there a website that people can go to learn more? Because I'm sure you need folks that may be volunteers to help out, and definitely you want to make sure that people that are interested just to be there, they can know the route and they can maybe stand along the route.
Yes, again, that would be at amvets.org. You can find all the information there, or even rollingthunder.com, but amvets.org is keeping it really up to date since they're the primary host of the run.
Super. What are the parting words you'd like to share with people about the Rolling Thunder, Rolling to Remember 2025?
Well, again, we're really honored that you're going to join us.
My pleasure.
We're looking forward to hundreds of thousands of Americans from different backgrounds being there. Be proud of this country. This country does have challenges, but it's a country that's evolving. It's a country that's growing. It's a country that people are dying to get in, but not dying to get out. So do all we can to make sure that we appreciate the sacrifice of those men and women before us. Let's recognize them during Memorial Day weekend. It's about barbecues and hot dogs and parades, but it's also a time to reflect and think about the people who gave up their tomorrows for our todays. And so remember their families, and let's come and have a great time together and use that momentum to aspire and motivate us all to move forward into our own communities and make our own communities better. Because if you do well and the man and woman next to you do well, America does well. So we're here to inspire, to motivate, and to have some fun.
It is about those who made the last full measure of devotion to this great nation. As Abraham Lincoln said in the Gettysburg Address, I can't wait to be up there, and I can't wait to get on the road and head up there, and maybe I'll get to see some other riders going up. But I got to tell you, riders talk about Sturgis. They talk about Daytona Beach. I think a true American rider should be there to roll to remember. God bless you, Rob. Thank you so much for being on the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
Thank you, sir. We look forward to hearing a bunch of people say, when are you going to run for president, Colonel West?
Just stop. I mean, see, you were doing good until that, okay? You know,
because you know it's going to happen.
I'm out of that. I'm out of that. You got Trump, then you got J.D. Vance or whoever. You know,
I've been with you many times, sir, and I hear it all the time. And so I'm just prepared for it to happen again. But thank you so much, and I appreciate it. And best of luck to all your audience members there. Thanks. And see you soon.
I will see you Thursday. I think that's the 23rd or 24th of May up there in D.C.
Yes,
when I roll into Washington, D.C.
Great.
God bless.
Be safe. Take care.
Thanks, Rob. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. And please continue to share it with others. And if you can be there on the Sunday before Memorial Day 2025 for Rolling to Remember. God bless.
Before they burn it down.